right. Hey, everybody. Nice to have you here. Nice to be here. I thought I was going to be doing this in a translation format, but it seems like most of these talks in this room have been in English, so I'm just going to go for it, right? And just let me know if you need me to repeat anything, or if someone is kind of like, "What's he saying?" We actually do have people in the room who are happy to help translate. Who are very familiar with the technology I'm presenting, and we're just gonna go for it, though. All right. Okay. So, this is me. I'm Scott Rigby. I have a different haircut in this photo. So I work at a company called Replicated, the t-shirt that I'm wearing, and So I wanted to ask you, how many people in here do work with Kubernetes already? Or like do things with Kubernetes? Like most of the people have done something with Kubernetes. Okay, so like almost everybody. Who has used Helm? The Helm project. Okay, also almost everybody. Most people that do work with Kubernetes use Helm, but not everyone. It's not required. I'm a maintainer of that project. It used to be part of the Kubernetes project. We actually moved it out of the Kubernetes project. So when I first started maintaining Helm, I was a Kubernetes maintainer. Years ago at this point now, this was about 9 years ago, and years ago we have moved Helm to its own project, which is what you all know today. I'm a cloud native ambassador. If you don't know what that is, there are a few other ambassadors in this room, at least one, and you're right, okay, at least two. Others, and if you're interested in that program and applying for it and becoming an ambassador, just let us know. We're happy to help connect you with people. Okay, and I do things like I have helped written Kubernetes exams, like the Kubernetes Application Developer exam. I've been on program committees for KubeCon and for other different. Basically, I do a lot of stuff. I also help to organize the KCD like this one, but in New York, which is where I'm from. Okay, so I'll fly through this relatively quickly because most people said, yes, we've used Helm. But just to like put it in context, so when we say that Helm is the package manager for Kubernetes, generally what does that mean? You know, a package manager it manages packages of applications on a system, right? And normally they're binaries or some other type of application, like apt, yum, or homebrew, or whatever your favorite package manager is. But for Kubernetes, what on earth do we send to Kubernetes? Generally, it's an API-driven application, just to put it very simply. And so the packages are the packages of configurations to run applications or other kinds of software on Kubernetes. And what Helm, the reason that Helm first started is because people were writing lots and lots of YAML. Hundreds, thousands of files of YAML, mostly with repeating values that are supposed to line up in some way, one way or the other. Also to different environments, at different times maybe, and needed different types of configurations. And that is just madness to maintain yourself, or to kind of like manage all of that yourself. And so there are various tools out there to help you with this. Helm has become, or is the most popular one, but there's other tools to help you do this. But anyway, that's what the packages are. They're called charts. And I'm just repeating this real fast because I'm going to present a project called Chartsmith, and there are some concepts that I just want to be clear that are known to everyone. The other thing is the users of Helm. There are several different users. We have a very short list of users, but the two that I want to focus on today are the people that are writing charts. Say you're at a company and you want to use Kubernetes, and you're not only using Helm chart to install some third part or some like community software. You're actually using it to install your own software. You're writing charts, so you're a chart developer at that point. Whether you're maintaining a chart that's millions of people using, or like hundreds or tens or two people are using in your company, you are a chart developer at that point. And the other are chart users, the people that actually run your charts, the people that say, Helm, install my application, or install Postgres, or whatever into your cluster. Those are the users. And there are far more users than there are chart developers, but they both are equally important. So Chartsmith is it is an AI assistant for those two Helm users, chart developers and the end users. So people at Replicated created Chartsmith, and basically, we also open sourced it, I should say. Well, I skipped ahead. Well, anyway, basically, what Chartsmith does is it just adds it adds very specific knowledge about how to run, basically how to like package Helm charts well, largely for enterprise software, but for all different types of software, right? And it has a lot of that knowledge baked in to the project that sits on top of these AI models. And so it's a bit different than you necessarily talking to them directly. Okay, and we open source this for the Helm community and for the Kubernetes community because there's a lot of interest in AI, and we're still using this internally, and we thought other people might benefit from it. And we don't need to make a product out of it and sell it to you. It's just free for you to use, and you're welcome to modify it and contribute to it. So I just want to stop right here real fast and say, okay. I wanted to show you, I actually used ChatGPT to generate these images, and I wanted to show them to you real quick. Are you interested slightly? I could skip past them. Yeah, do it? Okay, woo! All right, because this is actually the only reason I came here. I wanted to show off these images. So, all right, so you know the Phippy and Friends animals in CNCF? Have you all seen that? Like, there's like, there's the giraffe, and there's Linky for Linker D, the lobster, and like there's the Argos squid, right? That Stephanie was showing earlier. Well, Helm has Hazel the hedgehog, right? So that's just the way it is. And so this is basically Hazel. I asked ChatGPT to make me an image of Hazel based on the characters that we already have, because they're not really very well developed. This isn't the primary focus of Helm, right? We're not like a graphics project. So I was like, here's some images of like the plushie toy for Hazel, and give Hazel a little map and a little sailor cap. I didn't mean for there to be a cross on there. I don't know why they did that, but you know. In any case, well, the maps, basically, I mentioned charts. You may notice a nautical metaphor. That is probably, if there's anyone in this room who didn't notice that, you will hear that again and again and see lots of maritime and ship and nautical analogies. The history of that is very short. Containers were popularized by Docker. Docker's logo was a whale with shipping containers all over it, and everybody just picked up from there. And that's why you see all of that today. Hazel is a land-dwelling animal, but we will just ignore that fact. Okay, so I said, hey, now I want to do something about AI, an AI assistant, so make Hazel a robot. All right, and this is what it came up with. And I was just like, I wanted it to be, like, basically it's an assistant. It's not full automation. It's not there to replace you, right? So I wanted it to be augmented. So I was like, all right, make a cyborg. And that was basically it. So I think it's pretty cute, right? I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I like it. And I'm going to be showing you, I changed the title at some point to say Chartsmith plus SecureBuild. So I'm going to also mention this project called SecureBuild, which is actually a product that like I am not going to try to sell to you because I'm not a salesperson, but I'll mention it because it really has an impact on the open source community as well. We partner with open source projects and project maintainers, and they get a pretty big percentage of revenue share for this. So the idea is it's a way for the open source projects that we all use to actually be supported. But I've integrated that into Chartsmith. So I decided to make another one, and that's the SecureBuild little shield. So I'll tell you more about that in a bit. Okay, so I just realized I also have no sense of time. We started. We have time, but how much time? That's cool. I'll just keep going for now. All right, so basically, the reason I mentioned the Helm users is because those two personas for Helm is because with Chartsmith, you can actually, it really interacts with you as one of those personas, depending on the kind of question that you ask. So you're either interacting as a chart developer, like build me a chart, or how do I do this, or help me fix this bug in my chart, or whatever it is. Or you can interact as a chart user, like, how do I install whatever? What values should I use? Should I use custom values files? How do I do it? Etc. What are these for? And it will basically, like, you can decide to say, I am one of these personas, or Chartsmith will just detect which user you are based on what kinds of questions you're asking. So, yeah, I mentioned some of the things you can do. If you're a chart developer, you can create new charts, improve existing ones. I added a feature to download your edited chart, or you can push it to an OCI registry. Does everyone here know what OCI is, or have heard of this? It's or like you've heard of containers, I hope, right? Pretty much everybody here. It's a container registry, like Docker Hub, or like GitHub's container registry, or any of the other cloud container registries, or the open source ones you can run yourself. And okay, so then also if you're a user, I was just sort of like, actually kind of just explained all of that. Except I didn't mention that there's tie into Artifact Hub. If you all don't know about Artifact Hub, that is the place where you can find, I don't know how many thousands of charts at this point. You can also find packages for many of the other CNCF projects, because each project has their own custom idea of what a package is. So there's actually a working group to help define that that I'm part of, but we'll see what happens with the new reorg of the technical advisory groups in CNCF. Okay, so yeah, so basically, like, Chartsmith helps you define, or helps you like follow certain best practices, right? We have a lot of those documented on the Helm docs. A lot of them came from the old Helm charts repo, which used to be the Kubernetes charts repo. Myself and a number of other people collaborated on writing a bunch of best practices. A lot of them are rather old, but still very valid, and there are new ones too. So that's one of the things that Chartsmith helps you do. It will help you, update your dependencies. So you are, I don't know, you want to see what the latest dependent charts are. So I mentioned that Helm charts are packages for Kubernetes, and Helm is the package manager. But charts can also contain not only definitions of Kubernetes resources, but also other charts that it depends on, and it stitches them all together. So yeah, you can basically, multiple workspaces are like multiple chats in ChatGPT, something like this, right? You can keep like multiple questions and threads running. That's what multiple workspaces are, except rather than like something like ChatGPT or Anthropic or whatever, you're actually like maintaining or running interactive like editing of charts. And so yeah, all right. Well, I listed a couple of other things that it can do. I'm not going to go on about it, but basically, there's just a lot of things that are that Chartsmith has know-how to do, and it can tell you how to do, like using different Kubernetes distributions and so on. So, yeah, okay. So you probably have been wondering this question: why do I even use this project? Why don't I just use like, I don't know, like Claude Code, ChatGPT, like Cursor, which has both of those built in, my own custom LLM. Well, so, I mean, do that, yeah, for sure, right? And also, don't do that if you don't want to. I don't really care. But really, the answer is that like large language models that have been trained to write code are super good at generating code. But like, there are caveats, right? You have to know like precisely what you're asking for in order to get the correct result. And you also have to know what to look for when it returns results that are absolute garbage, right? We all have heard of AI hallucinating. Yeah, strap yourselves in if you're not doing this already or working with AI, because it gives you lots of, just like made up stuff all the time. That's just because of the way AI works, right? It's not an actual consciousness, right? It's a prediction engine. It's great at following, but you basically have to know what you're doing, is what I'm trying to say, in order to make decent use of something like ChatGPT or Claude for writing your charts. So try it and see how it goes. Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned that I'm going to also like show you an integration of SecureBuild. And yeah, so this is exactly what it is. You've heard of other services. Maybe some of you are using services. There are various companies out there that offer secure containers, zero CVE containers. This is another one. And you know, I'm interested not only because I work at the company that made it, because I'm not interested in everything that they do necessarily. Most things actually, I really like it, but it's not that. It's, I think, I can really tell you about the project and the product and the service, but for now, this is something like, it's very similar to the other secure container build services out there. And it's quite rapid. Yeah, but I think that the biggest and most interesting thing for me, and this is just because of my community, my open source community background, is that most container build services, they cost a lot of money, right? If you're working for a big company, you may be paying millions of dollars annually for a service like that. I worked at NBC Universal. I've worked for I've worked for NASA. I've worked for different companies in different sectors, and I know how much it costs. It costs a lot of money. This service is competitive, but what I care about is that none of those other services are paying the maintainers of the open source projects whose projects they're packaging and selling to you. They're doing a great service. They're doing, you know, they're giving you something that's hard to do yourself, and I'll explain why in a moment. But what SecureBuild does is it gives a very high percentage of revenue to those maintainers. So if maintainers of a project, let's say Stephanie was talking about Istio earlier, right? Or Argo or whatever, you can partner with SecureBuild as that project and receive just receive a monthly paycheck for people using the zero CVE container. So that's a really great thing, and I like to promote it. So yeah, so why do we really care? I mean, yes, there's altruism. That's why I care, but also why does your companies care? Yeah, basically it's like when one of the values of partnering with the open source projects is that you are actually, so for example, I'm a maintainer of Helm. I'm a security maintainer of the Flux project. We will actually validate those images with SecureBuild. You don't necessarily do that with all build services. We can have, anyway, there's lots of things we can do to help with disclosure. And basically the thing is, if you're relying on an open source project and that open source project stops being maintained, what are you going to do? You're going to have to build all your integrations differently and find another tool. So you actually also care, not you, well, you too, but you as in the royal you, your company or whatever, cares about making sure that those open source projects are healthy so that they can continue to use them. Otherwise, you're going to be building them in-house and you're going to go back to whatever was happening before you did that. So I wanted to show you a little demo. Y'all want to see a demo? All right, great. Setup is fun here. Bear with me. Stephanie, how did you do this? Okay. All right, so I have a little terminal set up. Can you all see the font pretty well? Is that a decent size? Should I blow it up? Plus it up. Like that? All right. Do I want to use a chair? No, I'm okay. Thank you. Thanks. I'll hunch over. I love to shrimp, as the kids are calling it these days. Always shrimping. Okay. So I am on the right branch. I'm on a demo branch. Okay. So basically, I am just simply gonna just run this locally for now. I can show you in short though that there's a Chartsmith.ai. Spell it right. This is a project where you can basically start doing what I'm about to show you now, but I'm gonna close that and run this thing locally. Okay, so we've initialized all this stuff. It's basically a front-end app and a back-end app. The front-end app is in Next.js. Oh, you know what? While this is built, oh, it's already done. Okay. All right, then I'm going to open this as an admin because I just don't want to deal with all the logging in and stuff right now during this demo. I do want to copy this little prompt. Okay, so basically you can start by uploading an existing chart if you're going to ask like, hey, how do I fix this chart, or how do I make it better, or why does this chart suck, or how do I use it, or whatever you want to do. You can also just upload plain Kubernetes manifests. So if you've got a directory of, like I mentioned, the thousands or whatever of Kubernetes YAMLs, or maybe just like you have 10 of them, or who knows what, right? You can just upload them. And you can also start by like pulling a chart from Artifact Hub. So if you wanted to like look for like a Postgres chart, you can like look for like a bunch of different, Postgres charts. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start with a prompt. And I'm just saying, write me a super simple Nginx chart, one deployment and service, and no other Kubernetes resources. Oh, wait a second. Before I do that, I want to it's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Okay. So there's some settings you can put on YOLO mode, which basically means accept all of the suggestions that you're giving me, Chartsmith, because I love you and I trust you. You can do that for fun. It can save you some time because you don't have to look over the suggestions yourself. But basically what's happening is Chartsmith is using a service called Voyage, I believe, to help identify intent. I mentioned before, it determines, it auto-detects whether you're a chart user or a chart developer, and other things about your intent. And it helps to create, and then it uses its own custom code written in Go to help with that information and help determine how to best do the thing that you're asking to do within the best practices and all of that I had mentioned. It then spits out this plan, and it's telling you what it's about to do, and you can say, no way, I hate that idea, or don't do it like this. And anyway, you can create the chart. Okay, so for now, it's just going to go ahead, and it starts with a really simple blank template, and it is it's a little bit slower than normal because of the internet here, but there's not a lot of back and forth, and I'll tell you why once it starts here. You can watch this go. It's basically telling you what it's going to do. It's going to show you what it's doing as it's going, which is changing that default boilerplate chart to add the things that you asked for. I asked for the most simple thing possible, so it's like removing a bunch of stuff. You're seeing a lot of red. But you're going to see some green too. It started with the chart.yaml. It's going through the values, and it's going to go through the few templates that I have. I'm just going to explain real quick how it works, and I won't get too in-depth about the AI stuff. But if people have questions afterwards, and you want to know a lot of the details, I've got tons of details to share with you, including like workflow diagrams and all of that. So, but in short, what it does is it takes your exactly what you asked for. It applies the chart-specific knowledge, and it vectorizes those requests as very, very specific requests. It stores them in a Postgres database. You can use any Postgres database, whether it's a managed service or something you're running through a Helm chart, or just on your own laptop if you're doing a demo like this. I'm using Docker Compose for this. And it just has to have the PG vector plugin. They call them plugins in Postgres. Yeah. Anyway, the PG vector plugin. And anyway, that keeps the communication between Chartsmith and the LLMs extremely minimal and very, very targeted to specific things around Helm in your charts. Okay, so we're just kind of seeing this go. What you're going to get is, it says waiting for plan to complete before changes can be accepted. you're going to get a tab for each of these files to accept or reject the different proposals that it makes. And then you can ask it. Oh, it's cut off. Oh, no. You can ask it various questions like, why did you do it this way? How are we doing for time?
No, you did. Please.
Oh, right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I'm usually the one that that reminds people of that. Thank you very much. Yeah. So hope you all could hear me in the meantime. Maybe the recording didn't hear as well, but okay. So this is almost done, and I'll show you how it works, and then I think I'll be ready for Q&A. I think I can, in the meantime. Well, let's just give it a second here. Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. One is like just how incredibly complicated it is to develop a zero CVE container service. I definitely encourage folks to try doing this on their own just for fun. It is very, very interesting, especially with the dependencies, things that you wouldn't necessarily know. It's not just about the software that you have inside the containers, but all of the dependencies that went into building that software and all of those dependencies. And CVEs are just coming out all the time, increasingly so. So it's an interesting territory to be in security right now. And I encourage you to look at, if not just SecureBuild service, but like literally any good container security service, and figure out how you can make use of that in your own company, or at least convince your bosses or your managers or whoever to adopt it, because people are getting hacked left and right. Okay, so anyway, this has finished. You can see it will show you things like the rendered YAML from the Helm charts based on what's in your values file. And you can accept or reject different changes. You can accept only this file or all the files. So I'm just going to like go through, like I accepted that one. That's cool. I accepted this one. I love it. Forget it. I'm just going to accept them all. So anyway, now that you have that, it's awesome. You can push this to. For now, we just have a very like anyone can use ttl.sh. It's not for production use. Just we clear everything out every 24 hours, so that's why it's really just for dev use, for fun and pleasure. I don't know, business for fun, and you can download a zip of the chart. So you can rename it. I didn't bother doing that. Yeah, but you can see the chart here. Open it up. There's the chart files. Anyway, it's a really helpful thing. You can download this, make your edits as you wish, add in new templates, play around with it, deploy it on your local kind or Minikube cluster or whatever, or any cloud, wherever you want to deploy it, and then re-upload it again, back to Chartsmith, and continue to iterate on what you're doing. And that's how it works. That's what I wanted to show you. I have more details to share, but I think like that's probably good for now. And does anyone have questions? I guess I'll pass this back.
No, I don't need the microphone.
Okay, yeah, no, you definitely don't. Okay.
So, one question, very easy, yes, no. Is it working with Helm subcharts?
Is it working with Helm charts?
Subcharts.
Subcharts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried this feasible? Because you know it's very hard to develop subcharts. It would be very helpful.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's one of the examples that I try out on my own. You can also just ask it, make me a subchart.
Great.
Yeah.
Second question, SecureBuild. You know that I presented Harbor, and in Harbor we have software bill of material, 3D scanner. Is there a way for the future to integrate this in a Harbor service, like add as a scanner, or we can build a plugin around that, just participating?
Yes, you definitely, that's a really good question. You definitely can. SecureBuild is a full service project that includes its own scanning, and it uses a lot of the same tooling that's underneath Harbor scanning. I think it uses, anyway, I guess there's an interesting reason why I shouldn't be saying exactly the tools that it uses. We have elsewhere, and you can find it yourself. There's been an interesting development. Everything's good, but yeah, basically you can. So the short answer is we don't currently have a way for you to plug in. You basically get the service, and you can enable different pieces of it, but that's what you get. Yeah, and honestly, I would say you don't really need it because it basically does one of its big selling points is that how rapidly it does these 24-hour checks and scans, and not just scans of the thing, but scans of each dependency in this like wild and sort of out of control dependency graph. In fact, I'm just going to show you for fun what this I was going to kind of get into this, but just in short, like what these dependency graphs start looking like for even just a simple application. It's like it starts to just get just absolutely out of control. And I can get it if you want to talk about some of the technicalities at some point about why you have to have circular dependency scans for a lot of these sub dependencies. I learned a lot by looking through this project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions about Helm or Chartsmith or yeah? Here, I'm going to give you a mic. Thanks. Yeah, I think this is for the recording mostly.
Okay.
I think everybody in here we can hear each other.
Cool. Yeah, so currently we're not using charts. Everything's basically rolled out as manifests. Mm-hmm. So I can just download all those manifests, send them up, and say initially I would need around 20 manifests, one for each of these services, and it should work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I try it and give me your experience.
Okay.
But I'd love to hear. We don't really. It's when I said we open sourced it, it's super brand new. I mean, I presented on this at KCD Guatemala, which was just last month. Was it last?
Okay.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was July, right? Oh my God, I don't remember. Anyway, it was June.
June.
Thank you. Anyway, I do remember your birthday. I didn't remember what day your birthday was, and that is my fault.
Normal, I remember that for that.
Yeah. So anyway, it came out very recently, and I just wanted to mention that we definitely need more eyes on it, and we're very open to contribution and just user feedback. But in short, yes, that's exactly what it should do. That's what the upload plain YAML manifests option is for. It says, hey, we're going to try to use these LLMs with very specific vectorized, knowledge-based asks that we add to it, and try to add Helm templating to this. Do this in a way that follows Chart's best practices and that is in line with what's out there commonly today. So, love to hear your feedback. Yeah.
And it should not only give me the charts, but the correct chart structure. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I won't know we don't know your application architecture. So that's one of the things that you can do in that chat conversation is actually describe your application architecture, what it is that you need, what kinds of configurations you want. Because, I mean, no computer or no person will know that, but the developer of the application, the developer and the users of the application. So for example, some charts, let's say we're talking about, a database that requires leader election versus maybe you want to run it in standalone mode. Well, how would unless you document that and you have a way to introspect what that, the various ways that application can be architected from a systems point of view, you wouldn't know what kinds of options you would want to give someone in a chart. So the nice thing about that, in my opinion, is that you probably already do, but users have to think through what it is, how they actually want a thing to work. And one thing I also want to note, and this is Helm specific, it's not necessarily Chartsmith specific, is that the thing that Helm does primarily is it adds a configuration layer on top of Kubernetes YAML manifests, right? That's in a nutshell what it does. It also manages the release life cycle of your application releases on Kubernetes and handles rollbacks and other things like that. But in short, that's a big part of what it does is it adds a configuration layer and this concept of a release that Kubernetes doesn't have natively. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So the the configurations are of two major types. One is configurations that have to do with your application itself. Sometimes that's made very easy in a chart because someone says, I don't know, give me the location of your config file for my app. Cool, done. Other times there are lots of values and it will generate that config file for you, like in a config map inside of Kubernetes. Or secrets, or if some of those values are secret or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can handle it, but that layer, that type of configuration is about what does my application need to run, period. You know, the other is about Kubernetes configuration because, you know, Helm charts are about helping applications to run in Kubernetes. And Kubernetes has its own configuration. A lot of that is specific to your application. It's not it's not like, say, the same settings that you would give your app to run on, I don't know, like a bare machine, you know, but they are configurations that you would need to give your application to run in the cloud. And so since we're running it in Kubernetes, then we map those to the Kubernetes abstraction layer for those things, whether it's like for networking or the various services or the ingress or your, gateway stuff or whatever. So that's the other side of it. And a chart contains both of those. And often you'll see charts where those are just kind of mixed together. I don't really have a good answer for that, except for you can develop your charts in such a way where you cleanly separate those and make it clear which is which. Yeah, and I guess my point, the reason I was mentioning that based on your question is that those are the types of things that you will want to have a conversation with either a live human or an AI assistant to clarify what is needed for your app. Yeah, try it out. Yeah, you want to mind passing that mic back for? And how are we doing for time? Are we about? Okay, maybe we have another moment.
Thanks. My company decided to buy a API gateway that is based on Kubernetes. They have their own CRDs and everything. So we're not managing an image or an application itself, but a bunch of configuration files or manifests that configure that Envoy wrapper or whatever it is. So would this tool work for that situation, or should I look something else in that case?
If you're asking generally if the tool is useful for custom gateways,
no.
Is that generally what you're asking?
No, I'm asking more like to be able to generate all those manifests that have, they're not a standard manifest, but they have different fields and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's a part that I would like some more testing around. I would like some more user feedback around. Yeah, I think we'd like to see that.
Okay.
Because generally, if those manifests, if the spec for those for those custom resource definitions is available, then
it is kind of
right. So you can upload files to Chartsmith as well,
and extract all those fields and
you can say, you know what? I actually haven't tried this by uploading the def. But you can certainly upload your custom resource definitions, even if you don't want them in your chart.
Because I have the chart already, but it's based on what we have configured currently. So every time we need a new field, I have to go back and do it.
I'm going to say I don't know how it handles that. But I would actually ask you to add the CRD into the chart itself, even if you don't want the chart to actually manage that CRD for you, just so that it understands the spec of that custom resource definition so that it can manage the fields on your custom resources.
Okay.
That's what I would.
Perfect.
ask you to try, and I would
Yes,
love your feedback
for
on
sure.
that. It might be, yeah, we'll see.
Definitely. Thanks so much.
Okay, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone, and see you out there.